G'day everybody, where's Wally here? Well, today Wolfie and I and a few others have been having a little bit of fun with Rude Earther. He, in the last couple of days, dropped up a couple of videos about chemtrails. Poor deluded soul thinks chemtrails are real. So we're trying to educate him on contrails. He's not really having the bar of it. Hey Wolfie, that Rude Earther guy is having a little bit of trouble understanding the lack of contrails here in Australia. I think you're down at the airport at the moment. There's probably going to be a lot of planes flying around down there. Can you just have a look around and see if there's any contrails visible? I can't see any from Himawari 8, so maybe you can spot some from the ground.
Sure, Wally, no problem at all. Here I am in Sydney, Australia, and all we see is clear blue sky. I'm even at an airport, but there are no chemtrails anywhere in sight. In all directions, just clear skies.
I had made the comment that you're lucky, Rude Earther, because we don't get very many contrails here in Brisbane. And that is true. But I didn't say we don't ever get them, and here is one that I did get. This is when I first fixed the camera, the P900 that Wolfie gave me. And do you notice what I see here, Rude Earther? I was talking to you about your photo. What I see here is the underside of the plane is lit. Now this is a plane that's at full cruising altitude. I think it's going from Singapore to Auckland. And there's no reason for it to be anything other than level flight. And yet it's underlit by the evening sun. Wow, that's a bit of a globe sign. And that reminded me of one photo, 1 or 2 frames from your video where you showed a plane with the 2 contrails. One was lit and one was not, because clearly one was shading the other. That means the sun has to be almost level with the plane. Another globe sign. And also like this little video of yours where the contrail is in full sun over there, shade in the middle and full sun over here. Now I'm not sure why that is, or whether there could be a cloud shading it in the middle or not. It's a bit hard to tell, but it does look very pretty and does get me wondering. Now, despite the fact that Rude Earther thinks that jet fuel doesn't have any hydrogen in it, which it actually does, mate, sorry. When we look at the stoichiometry of this thing, when you burn 1 kilogram of jet fuel, you're going to get 1.3 kilograms of water vapor. Sorry, of water, which now turns to vapor in the hot exhaust. Now I know that some people are going to look at that and think, oh, over unity, we can't do that. But remember, the jet engine is actually sucking up O2 from the atmosphere as well. So that is being combined, and we can see that reflected in the stoichiometry. So that's where the extra mass of water is coming from the added oxygen from the atmosphere. Now originally, Rude Earther was saying that only 7 grams is produced per pound, and none of us can figure out where he got that from. He might be able to tell us, or maybe he's realised that he's wrong by now. I'm not sure at this stage. And Rude Earthy, and you don't even need an engine producing exhaust to add water to the system to produce a cloud. You can have an atmosphere that's super saturated but no clouds are forming. And when a wingtip or a propeller passes through it, the wingtip vortices are enough of a shock to produce trails. And then they can persist thereafter once they start the cloud formation process going. No added water, just the shock. And Rude Earther, I did forget to thank you very much for the Contrails over Perth link. That was very interesting. I particularly like the part about the contrails at dusk, where they're talking about the plane being in the light while the sun has already set below the horizon. Kind of sounds a bit ball earthy, that sort of explanation, doesn't it? Very interesting. And the other one I had a chuckle from was the next little article where they said they went to DEFCON 1 because there was suddenly a really high, fast little plane that turned out was coming from the Maldives and going to Sydney. I was so stoked when I saw that and thought that could be Wolfie. I know he has been around those areas. He has definitely done that flight a few times. But we went and looked at the flight records and he was there a couple of days later in Perth, not flying over Perth. So sad it wasn't actually Wolfie, but it could have very well have been. Such fun. But before I saw all of this, I had been watching the SpaceX launch. And one interesting thing I noticed was at around 13 kilometres up, there was a little contrail popped up from the rocket. And it only lasted a few seconds and then the rocket stopped producing it. So it got me wondering, why was that? So I found someone's nice view from a little bit of a different distance that showed the rocket all in one go. And then I synced up the launch with the official SpaceX launch feed and trimmed it down to so it just sat on the bottom here. So this time we can see just what height is the rocket when it's producing that contrail. And it turns out it's around 13 to 15 kilometres. Then I grabbed the skew-T diagram for Miami for the same day. It was a couple of hours difference, but hopefully the weather hasn't changed that much up high. And you can see that moisture content got really close to the saturation limit, right at around that height. So any little bit of extra moisture popped into the atmosphere from that rocket combustion exhaust was going to set off cloud formation. Which is exactly what it did. So Rude Earther, this was a really good example of a rocket which was at full load, and all of a sudden it produced a contrail and then it stopped again, and it was primarily due to the atmospheric conditions at that particular altitude. Well, I guess that's enough of playing with contrails and Rude Earther. He just really didn't have much of an idea about the stoichiometry and the chemistry of just what's going on. It's a bit of a fail to think that RP1, jet fuel A1, all these things don't have hydrogen in them. They are called hydrocarbons because of the hydrogen-carbon bond. That's the energy storage mechanism. Pity, mate. Anyway, better luck next time.